From the Black Swan Media Studios, deep inside a secret underground bunker, we're speaking to freedom-loving patriots from all around the country and the world. Welcome to the Resistance. This is John Crump, live.
And we are live, and it's a great, great day. We are joined by one of my favorite guests of all time. He is a guy that I have a deep respect for, and his name is not Flying Rich, but Flying Rich is here. How you doing?
Sorry, I can't hear you, Crump. What, are you saying something?
Rich is still mad at me for what I did to him earlier.
Yes.
He actually hung up on me.
Yes.
Why'd you hang up on me?
Because you're annoying.
What happened is I had Rich explain something to me for about 30 minutes. That I really
knew you were
didn't.
effing with me. I knew you were totally effing with me.
Then why'd you keep on explaining it? I mean that's the question, right?
Well, you said you've never been to Costco. And then Dark went on the Costco tangent.
All right. Let's get our guest in here, though. Yeah. So you might know our guest. He has a new book out. He is the guy that engaged the shooter down at Sutherland Springs. He also works for GOA. He is a great guy. Somebody I became like friends
He's
with.
a guy that doesn't like shoes.
Doesn't like shoes. He doesn't like shoes. He grabbed his AR and engaged a maniac.
Yeah, he prefers to shoot the perps barefoot.
No shoes, and it's an interesting story. But let me go ahead and bring him on. His name is StephenWilleford. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, John. How you doing? It's great to be on your show again.
I am doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent.
All right. Well, everyone knows who you are, so I don't think anyone out there doesn't know who you are.
Well, what you want me to talk about?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Tell them who you are, then we'll get into your book and everything else.
I'm the guy from Sutherland Springs that ran across the street barefooted when a mass shooter was shooting up the First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs, Texas, where my community, I'm fourth generation in the same little community. I love my community and all the people in it. And this guy just started shooting through the walls and windows of a church. And I confronted him and had a gunfight with him. And he hit the truck in front of me, shattered the windshield of a car behind me, hit the house behind me. He had on Class 3 body armor and a ballistic bulletproof helmet. And I was able
you shot around that, right?
Yes, I did. I hit him in the body armor. I hit him in the left chest. I hit him in the abdomen, both in the body armor. But I waited until he turned to his side, and I was able to put one between the plates, high in his side, and I was able to put one in his legs. As he got in the vehicle, he slammed the door. I put one through the window where I perceived his head to be. It split across his forehead, right underneath the brim of the helmet. He accelerated, turned the corner, and ran away. I put one last shot through the back windshield. It went through the driver's side seat and hit him right at the left shoulder blade at about 150 yards away. And he topped the hill and out of sight. And I flagged down a truck. We chased him for 11.6 miles, and he committed suicide. People ask me why I chased him. And I said he really pissed me off.
So wait, how many shots did he fire at you?
I don't know. I do know that there was shots in the truck and in the car behind me and in the house. But before I ran behind the truck, he had put some shots at me while I was running at the truck. I ran to the truck for cover. And those didn't hit anything, but when I got behind the truck, he started hitting things around me. So I couldn't tell you exactly. I know that there were bullet holes in the truck and there were bullet holes in the car and the house also.
So it sounds like he fired more than 4 rounds, almost 10 rounds at you.
He probably did.
And so not one hit you. Every round you shot hit him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I will tell you, if you see this much fat running, there's something seriously going on. But I was not standing around waiting for him to shoot me either.
Yeah. Hey,
so,
let me just ask a question. Actually, ask you to tell. When the cops showed up and you had your AR out, tell us about that. What happened there? Because I think that's interesting.
Well, I was at the crash site. He finally ran off the road, and I didn't know it, but he had committed suicide. And I had my rifle over the hood of the truck, and I was waiting for the police. And again, I never heard the shot when he committed suicide, but I was standing there, and it took between 5 to 7 minutes is what they estimate to get there. And I wasn't even focused down the road, and I heard a police officer come over a PA system. He said, "Driver, get out of the vehicle with your hands up." And I turned and looked at the officer, and he said it again. He keyed the mic, said, "Driver, get out of the vehicle with your hands up." And I tell people, if you're ever involved in something like this, when the police get there, you want to comply with all your heart, because that officer may not know who you are. And apparently this one did know who I was, because we were talking to dispatch. But I laid the rifle on the hood of the truck, and I started to the back of the truck with my hands up, and started walking to the back of the truck, and that officer made eye contact with me. He keyed the mic again, and he said, "Not you." And I went back over and I picked up my rifle, put it back over the hood of the car. I was 50 yards from the shooter. And I had a rifle. I only had 2 rounds left in the rifle, but he was 100 yards from the shooter, and he had a pistol, and that's all he had. And so he wasn't done with me at that moment. And he showed me more respect at that moment than I ever expected to get from a police officer.
Now, let me ask you this. So you ran out, you engaged. Why did you do that?
Well, because I love my community. I love the people. I'm 4th generation in a little bitty community that's under 600 total population. And I knew most of the people in the church. I knew most of the people that died that day. I grew up with these people. I know them. And when I found out that someone was shooting and murdering them, I couldn't stay in my house.
So how many rounds did you load?
I loaded 8 rounds, and I had 2 rounds left. I popped open a box of Federal Eagle ammo. Just popped it open, and I grabbed, and I've done that several times since then. And just grab, and what I naturally grab in my hand, because of how I grab, is 8 rounds. It seems to be consistent, 8 rounds. And I started poking them in a magazine as I was running for the door.
So, a couple of things about this. One, I mean, I have loaded bags. Do you keep loaded bags now?
I do, and that's one of my greatest regrets, is that I didn't have a gun ready. And I hate excuses, but I had been burglarized like 5 years earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And they got the only gun that was out of the safe. And for 2 months after that happened, I feared coming home to my house, and the same burglar being in my house, and this time
Right.
he would have my
For sure.
gun.
Right. Right.
And so I made a habit of unloading my guns and putting them away in a safe.
Mm.
But
I understand the sentiment for sure.
but I will no longer do that because
Mhm.
that I timed it several times because I was asked to speak before the United States Senate
Mhm.
against safe storage acts.
Mhm.
And I wanted to be correct when I spoke. And so I practiced several times, and the fastest time I came up with running, dialing the safe, opening it up,
Mhm.
grabbing the magazine and grabbing ammunition, sticking it in, it took me 91 seconds.
Just to get the gun out of the safe.
Longer than putting a loaded magazine in a gun and running. So
I know I've been in a panic situation and punching nearest on the GPS while I'm flying the airplane when stuff's going wrong. When I had a crash, it took me forever to get that done right. Like the more steps you have in the way of something simple like punching a combination on a safe.
well, this was
Like I
dialed.
know yeah, well, for me, I got a push button, but I know I would do it wrong at least once.
No, well, and I did get it right the first time, but
Mm-hmm,
even
mm-hmm.
in a panic, but still took me 91 seconds. And I tell people that's 91 seconds that I will never get back in my life. That's
Yeah.
the 91 seconds that I regret the most. I talked to Chris Workman that was shot in the back, and he was paralyzed from the waist down. He was the last person that was shot there. And I said, Chris, if I would have been there 15 seconds earlier, you would still be
Mm-hmm.
walking.
Yeah,
Right.
it's one of those
Ugh.
things that make you think about it. You
Yeah.
started something called the Barefoot Defender. What is that?
Well,
And I know most of these answers.
I ran across the street with my gun. I took the 91 seconds to get my gun, but I didn't take time to put my shoes on because my gun was essential on that day, but my
Mm-hmm.
shoes weren't. And people say, really, you took time, you didn't take time to put shoes on. I said, you're lucky I had pants on because the shots were being fired, and I realized real quickly every shot was aimed at somebody I cared about.
Oh.
And I didn't have time to put shoes on. They weren't
Mhm.
important. My gun was important because I couldn't stop
Yeah.
him without that. But
Right.
my shoes were not important. And I just like in the Bible when the Israelites left Egypt, they didn't take time to let their bread rise. And now
Yes.
thousands of years later, they have the feast of the unleavened bread to let
Mm-hmm.
people know that the urgency of leaving Egypt was such
Oh yeah.
that, and so being the barefoot defender lets people know the urgency of getting into a fight.
Mm-hmm.
What's important in the fight, and your shoes aren't. If you don't have shoes on, get in the fight. It doesn't matter.
We got a comment. He says, "I'd come out naked as a distraction." Well, then you'd be a target.
Farmer James.
So, Stephen, two more things. Two questions I got for you. One, did you plan on distracting your daughter by saying, "Hey, load this other magazine"? Was that intentional?
Yes, it was very much intentional. So I've
Good
been
man.
a construction worker in the past, and I've been a foreman. And when you have an apprentice that is getting kind of in your business, when you're doing something important, you give him what we call busy work. You send him to do something that he can't accomplish to get him out of your hair. And so at that moment, I sent my daughter to load me another magazine because I love her so much. I didn't want her, one, to be a distraction. And two, if I would have failed, I know she would have run to my side. I didn't want her to see that, and I didn't want her to be his next victim.
Let me ask you something. you did all that, and a lot of people on the anti-gun side would be like, well, doesn't that make you anti-gun because this guy had a gun, he had body armor? So when people bring that up, because a lot of anti-gun people point to Sutherland Springs as a symbol of why they
Well,
want
they
gun
tell half
control.
the story when they do that.
Well, so Colorado was doing that just this last session. They were pointing to Sutherland Springs as why they should need assault weapons ban, is what they called it, and they were using Sutherland Springs as a reason. And I signed up to speak in Colorado, and they said we don't normally let someone from out of state speak. And I said, but you're using my town and my situation. You should at least listen to what I have to say, because that man had an AR-15, but so did I. He used his for evil, but I used mine to save my community. And it's not
Amen.
about the gun, it's about the heart of the man that's holding it. The gun is just a tool.
Yeah. It seems for some reason they think that if they make AR-15s illegal or whatnot, all the bad guys are going to stop using AR-15s, even though they already have them. One of my arguments against gun control is, all right, let's say we ban all guns. How are you going to get them? There's more guns than there are people, and a lot of bad guys have guns, and the only guns that you're going to take is from the good guys.
Right.
I did AJ Louderback is a sheriff of Jackson County, Texas, and he asked me to come to an event that he was speaking at and to speak. And AJ Louderback scared me really bad, and he has the perfect answer to all that. Because what Louderback said is the drug cartels have a $500 billion budget. Now let that soak in, because we do a $700 billion budget to defend the United States. They have a $500 billion budget. He said, let's go down this liberal,
Hive mind.
nirvana, this liberal nirvana for a moment. Let's play like what they want to do could actually happen. It can't, but let's play like it could for a moment. He said, let's ban all guns, and all criminals and good guys alike are going to go down and turn in their guns. Now, the whole nation, other than the police department and the military, doesn't have a gun or any way to defend yourself. But that's okay, because we all turned in our guns, correct? He said, when I go do a bust on the border against the drug cartels, we get 3-pinned machine guns, and we get rocket-propelled grenade launchers. The drug cartels aren't getting those from the general public here. They're getting those through the black market, and our military loses M16s every year. In fact, they just said that the ATF is losing guns every year.
Oh yeah, they lost tons
Imagine
of
that.
guns.
And,
I
and
think I
so
read that.
he said, so let's play for a moment that you could dry up the black market. Again, that's liberal nirvana again. It's not going to happen. But let's play like you could. And now we dried up the black market, and the drug cartels sit around and scratch their heads and say, we're sitting on $500 billion. We'll take $1 billion of that $500 billion. We'll build the best manufacturing plant this world has ever seen. We'll employ the villagers around us, because those villagers love them, because they protect them and take care of them. And if they've supplied them with jobs building guns, then they could start cranking out their own guns. What gun manufacturer would love to have $1 billion for CMC machines and the things to build their own firearms? That would happen. And they would supply the criminal element with guns anyway. and where would we be? Disarmed and unable to defend ourselves, our country, or anyone else.
Now you've written a book. Let's get into the book, because that's why you're here. I bought the book. I haven't started reading it yet, to be honest. I just got to finish up. I read a book a night, but I have it, or a book every two nights usually. But I have them all set. So the next book I'm going to start reading, I'm going to finish up the book that I'm reading, a Brad Melsner book right now, and then I'm going to start reading your book tomorrow night. So I should have it done by by like Thursday. So I'm really looking forward to it. But tell us a little bit about what your book is about.
The book is called A Town Called Sutherland Springs, and people need to know that it is about a beautiful little town. And the subtitle is Faith and Heroism in Tragedy. And if they look at it and think of the heroism as being me, they haven't read the book, because it talks about the heroism of people like Gunny Macias, a retired Marine that was in the church, and Julie Workman, which was an emergency room nurse in the church. People like the first responders, Hank Farnett, that was the first police officer on the scene. We did interviews with EMTs that came in to a horrible situation, and even talked about the hospital that I work for, University Hospital in San Antonio, and how they received some of the victims from the shooting. The book also is almost a eulogy for the people that we lost. We interviewed the family members of the people we lost in Sutherland Springs and let the nation know what they wanted to know, what they wanted everybody to know about their loved one. And so the book is about a lot of things, and it's about my community, and it's about what a great place it is to live here.
Yeah, you guys have bounced back, which is amazing. I shared the link. Anybody who wants to buy the book, you can go buy the book. And the link I just put out there. So go right ahead. And I'm going to make a redirect here that's going to make it very easy to buy the book. It's just going to be cruppy.com book, and it should be active right now. So if you go to cruppy.com/book, you'll see Stephen's book, or you can just click on the link that I pasted on there. Some
Stephen,
people want to know if they can get a signed book.
What's that?
Some people want to know if they can get a signed book.
Well,
what's that?
So GOA is going to purchase a bunch of them, and I will be going around at the events where I go, and I will be doing book signings there. GOA here.
Yeah, you work for GOA just like me, so
you
have a connection there. You're actually hanging out a little bit.
I can probably sign a bunch of those books that are getting sent to GOA. So maybe we can do something like that.
Make a donation to GOA and get a book.
You go sign up, be a member of GOA, which now's the time to do it. Because GOA is doing a lot of great things. With the pistol brace and stuff, GOA members have got an injunction to keep the ATF from enforcing the pistol brace to all GOA members. Please go out there and sign up for GOA.
They're really working hard for you, and to everyone, Stephen can attest to this. Everybody at GOA, every single person at GOA, to the person, is a true gun guy. There's no lobbyist that went over to start doing guns and stuff like that. I mean, they're there because they believe in the Second Amendment. And if they could protect the Second Amendment and have a magic wand that makes all these anti-gunners turn into pro-gunners, and GOA would have a cause, I don't think anybody at GOA would say no. I don't want that.
I would be happy if there was never a need for GOA, but
Right.
there is a need for it, and there's a fight that we're fighting. And I now have 8 grandchildren, my oldest of which just had her 5th birthday. So things get crazy around the Willeford compound when all the grandbabies and all 3 of my children, we all get together. It gets kind of chaotic having 8 grandchildren, 5 and under. And
Yeah.
and they are who I'm fighting for.
Yeah, I have a 6-year-old and Matthew, who all of you guys know. You guys all know Nicky, but you all know Matthew because Matthew comes with me to everywhere usually. He's about to turn 10 next month. And by the way,
And
I made these. I want to get a scan of you, Steven, so I can make you. I sell these on Etsy. If you go to crumpy.com/wick, you can actually buy this.
cool. So it's someone saying something about an Audible book?
Yeah, like an Audible. I listen to a lot of Audible books too.
We've already got that in the planning. And what's cool about it is
I'm going to read it.
Cool.
First off, my daughter graduated, or she went to Texas A&M to be a author, a writer, and I could have never have written the book myself. It's co-authored by my daughter.
Awesome.
And she had a 4.0 GPA at Texas A&M.
Wow.
Rachel, right?
Yeah, Rachel. Rachel Howe is her name, and it's on the book. She's a co-author, and my son is going to do the Audible.
Family affair.
And
cool.
Someone asked me why I didn't. Is because it's such a tough read for me. I couldn't get it emotionally, and you know, I hope no one thinks I'm less of a man for that. But
anyone that thinks you're less of a man than that, Steven, I'm gonna go find them and punch them in the face. You see that one thing where they did a commercial where the boxers go around and said, "Oh, you said that you could take a body shot from this guy." Because he was like criticizing a boxer that got knocked out by a body shot. The guy's like, "Yeah, I said that. I believe that." Like, all right, come on. The boxer comes up, drops. I don't know if you've seen that commercial, but
yeah, I'd have to watch TV to see stuff like
that.
But I mean,
in the door, I'm gonna go punch him in the stomach.
I'm so emotionally invested in the book that I can't read it without a total meltdown.
Yeah, I've heard so many good things about it.
And in that way, it's kind of a tough read, you know.
Sure.
But it's worth reading. It's got stories in it that really matter.
It's the #1 in new releases, by the way.
Yeah.
So you're Amazon bestseller. So here's this, Steven. There's 3 people on this panel right now. 2 of them are Amazon bestsellers.
Oh, really?
One of them can't read a book.
One of them,
yeah, I don't know if I'd say I'm functionally illiterate because it's not that I don't read, but
you're good.
I am such a good audiobook person, though. I'm much better at audio.
Well, we've already talked to a recording studio, and we want to get my son recorded reading the book. And I listen to him read to my grandchildren all the time. He has a great reading voice. It's not just a flat monotone read. He does a really good job. And so we're talking about getting it out there on audio. It is not at this point, but we want it to be.
So, Steven, I got 2 questions for you. One I've been meaning to ask you. First off, what GOA events are you going to be going to in the future?
Well, the next one I've got is GunCon, and that's going to be in Iowa.
Nice. I'd like to go. I'm not, but
and then I'm going to. Oh man, I got several of them, but I've got several here in Texas. They keep trying to tell me just remember you're part of the national team. And I said, let me do things in Texas too, because at some point Texas may pull the pin and we may not be part of the nation anymore.
I was supposed to
Ow.
be down in Texas last weekend, but I had some stuff come up.
But
Oh yeah, Crumpy, the top secret mission, right?
Yeah, that happened. I was not there. I had some stuff coming up. My father-in-law had like brain surgery, so couldn't really leave. But Wes was down there, and JV was down there.
we got a great team here.
I guess we can say what it was. They were training teachers. They were down there watching a training class of teachers from a certain town.
Yeah, that's out in West Texas. And then I've got coming up in July, I'm going to be in Nashville, Tennessee, at the Faith-Based Security Network, or SOS. They call it SOS also. It's a church training for active shooting and stuff.
Stephen, can you get me information on that? I might be interested in that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. My church kind of bans firearms. It's a Catholic church, but the priest there once did tell me, he goes, "Hey, I know wherever you are isn't exactly a gun-free zone."
It's really cool because we had Texas come, or Ted Nugent come to the Texas Capitol and speak for GOA. Ted Nugent said he did, and he put his guitar up there at the front of the stage and just waited until we kind of took a break, and I was supposed to go introduce him, and instead he just picked up the guitar. He said, "I don't know how this is supposed to work, but here it goes," and he started playing the guitar and stuff. He started in with some riffs from Stranglehold, and then in the end he told everybody, "Pull off your hats," and he did the national anthem, and it was permeating through the whole hallways and everything of the Capitol. And Ted Nugent said, "Just remember, if I'm there, it's not a gun-free zone."
Yeah, Ted used to be like big NRA supporter, but now he's doing stuff at GOA too, which is kind of cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. He's a pro-gun advocate altogether. Anybody anywhere that is fighting for the Second Amendment, Ted Nugent is there with them.
We gotta get him. Remind me to get him on the show, Rich.
No, all right. What's your connection to Ted Nugent then?
We know people in common.
Well,
I thought you had a relative that was a friend or something.
No, that was of Aaron Neville of Aaron Neville.
So I
another musician.
So I was doing a fundraiser to help Chris Workman build a house, a handicap accessible house. He's a young man that got shot in the back and was paralyzed from the waist down. And I was trying to help raise funds, and I was going to dinner with my family, and the phone rings, and I looked at it, it said no caller ID. And my world, I have to answer those phones anyway. And my wife said, "Make it short. We're having dinner with the family." And I answered it, and it's like, "Hey, brother, this is Ted Nugent." And I looked at my wife and I said, "I'm going to take this one outside." He ended up donating 2 signed Ted Nugent guitars for the fundraiser for Chris Workman. And I have become a personal friend of Ted Nugent's.
That's what I said. Cool. That's what I said. I got a friend in common.
Yeah, was that what you said?
When I call him when I call him up, he answers the phone. "How's it going, brother?" And I'm like, "Ted Nugent calls me brother."
That's fun.
But we're part of the same spirit, if you will.
Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, like, Crumpy and I hung out with you at the gathering at the GOA booth there, and you're just a genuine nice guy. I'm just so, like, if people are watching and they're like, "Oh, who is this guy?" It's exactly as he comes off, just plain nice guy, and you're so kind to everybody that came by. It was really nice.
Thank you, and You know, I had a guy from France that did a documentary on Sutherland Springs, and he told me, he said, "You're not what I expected."
I don't know what they expect. I mean,
Well,
Oh,
I
they expect like Chuck Norris cowboy, right?
well, I asked him. I said, "What did you expect?" He said, "Well, I expected Rambo."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, just remember," his name was Henri. I said, "Remember, Henri, the one that cares the most, that loves the most, will be willing to sacrifice the most." I didn't shoot that man because I hated him. I shot him because I loved everybody that was in that church.
So Tony, you met Tony Simon?
Oh yeah. Tony Simon, he goes by
Hey,
the
Tony.
biggest pound for pound gun bunny in existence.
Yeah.
Tony, big black guy?
Yeah.
He took me to Gay Street. No, we were in Pennsylvania and we had to go to Gay Street. So I called my wife, Steven. I said,
So
"Some big
that's the
black
joke
guy
every
came
time.
at me and taking me to Gay Street." My wife's like, "All right, yeah, whatever, John." She was like, "Call me when you get back to your hotel."
So Tony comes on our show every once in a while. He'll have you in tears
hilarious.
laughing. Funny guy, just a wonderful guy.
Tony is the guy that whenever we have him on the show, I got to tell my wife, like, we're gonna go way long. Dude, we did a 3-hour podcast one time with Tony, and it started out with, I saw this video of this Karen woman, and 3 hours later, he finished the story with, "And that's how you get communism." So somehow he connected a Karen video to the nation falling to communism. It took 3 hours, but he got to, and I have no idea how he got there.
So, Stephen, the other question I've been trying to ask you, which is fine because it's part of the interview process. You're running down the street barefoot with an AR-15. How do you get a guy to stop, let you in the car, and chase the bad guy?
So, this guy, his name's Johnny Langendorf. I'd never met him before this happened, but he was driving through Sutherland Springs he had a date with his girlfriend. She was in Sutherland Springs. He wasn't from here. And he was driving through, and he just happened to pull up to the stop sign the moment the shooter came out of the church and started shooting at me. He witnessed the whole shootout between me and this guy, me running behind the truck and engaging him. And when the shooter was able to get in his vehicle, turn the corner, and run as fast as he could, I ran out in the middle of the street, took that last shot, and I'm standing in the middle of the street thinking, it can't end this way. It just can't end this way. The guy's getting away. And I turned and looked to my left, and there was Johnny's truck, and Johnny was on the phone. And I ran over while he was stopped at the stop sign, and I tapped on the window and said, "That guy just shot up the Baptist church. We have to stop him." And I tell people all the time, any sane person in this world would have just stomped on the gas and left me there at the stop sign. But this is Texas we're talking about. We're not known for our sanity.
I thought that was Florida, but
you guys got up to some high rates of speed, if I recall. You guys got up to some high rates of speed in the pickup truck.
Yeah, it had a 6.2 liter V8 Hemi in it, and he told the media that he was doing over 95 miles per hour. I'm going to tell you, I was, they have the little bar up here that you hang on to.
The OS bar.
Yeah, I was hanging on to that bar, and I was white knuckling it. Because he was splitting cars and traveling at a very high rate of speed. I don't know what top speed on one of those pickups are, but I do know I was moving on.
The 6.2 Hemis, I mean, they can get well over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, and he wasn't sparing the horses either. And and I tell people that when we caught up to where we could see him, I looked at him and I said, you know, if you catch him, you're going to have to put him off the road. And Johnny had not even said a word to me at that moment. But when I told him that, he turned and he looked at me and he said, "Yep, I already figured that." And he was probably thinking in his head, you know, I always wanted to try a pit maneuver.
Yeah, from what you've told me, it seems like that's that type of guy. This question might be a little bit hard. I don't know if anybody's ever asked you this, but what would you have done differently?
Well, I would have had a loaded gun at the ready, to be there even sooner. I might have had shoes on if I would have known it was going to happen.
Right.
Some track shoes.
But no, I regret not having a gun ready, and that's my biggest regret. And I don't, you know, I can't change the past, but what I can say is that when I wake up in the middle of the night and I think about it, I know I did everything that I humanly possibly could have done to stop it as quickly as possible, and I can sleep at night. And I don't know that that can be the same said about the officers at Uvalde. I
Yeah,
don't.
that was ridiculous. I mean, they just sat there and waited, and then somebody wanted to go in, and they tried to arrest them.
Well,
with respect, Stephen, I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think these people have a conscience, and I think they're sleeping like babies.
Oh, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I believe that when they hear the shooting at night, I pray for them, because I believe that when they hear the shooting in the middle of the night and they know that children were trying to call 911, still alive in there, and they ran down the hallway, and when they got shot at, they scampered back like a bunch of rats. I believe that at night they will think about that and they will regret their decisions. Uh, I truly believe. People ask me how I could do what I did, and what I will tell you is, and people said it wasn't your fight. Why did you get into it? And I say it was my fight. And what I truly believe is we all die. Everyone that's listening today, I got depressing news for you. You'll die someday. And it's not about how you die, but it's how you live that matters.
I'm gonna upload my brain to a computer.
What's that?
I'm gonna upload my brain to a computer. Just joking. Yeah,
But
I mean that's a great point. That's a great point. It is about how you live, and you live the way you preach, which is unusual. Usually, we see people, you know, say, "Do as I say, not as I do." But you live the way that you advise other people to live.
well, I live with no regrets.
And not very many people can say that.
I mean, and I truly believe it is my faith in God, my faith in Christ, that because when I die, I know where I'm going, and I have that assurance. And if you have that assurance and you know where you're going, then you can live life a little bit more boldly.
Yeah, you definitely can. And to have a gun at the ready is something that's very important. In fact, in Philadelphia, just today, or actually last week, but I just read about it today. A guy attacked a woman in Philadelphia with a crowbar, and she happened to be a concealed carrier, so she was able to put down the attacker and save herself. Now, if she didn't have a gun, who knows,
Wouldn't have
right?
stood a chance.
Yeah, the gun is a great equalizer.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can't just assume that a 110-pound woman is a victim. If she has a gun, she is equal.
What's that old saying? God created man, same cult made us all equal.
God created the big man, God created the little man, and Samuel Colt made us all equal.
That's what it is. I knew you would know what it is.
I have one too that I've learned to. I quote from Tombstone, Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp had a saying. He
Great
said,
movie.
"Huh."
Great movie.
Well, Wyatt Earp had a saying. Apparently, he said, "Fast is fine. Accuracy is final. You must learn to be slow at a hurried pace." And I've been in a gunfight, and I was taking very slow shots, and I was being shot at very quickly. And all that rounds that he spread at me, thank God he wasn't trained.
Now, how much training have you done?
Well, so when I was a very young adult, I started shooting a whole lot. When I was 5 years old, I was trained by my father how to use a 22 rifle. And I grew up on a dairy, and we used it to hunt with rabbits, and we ate rabbits, and we also kept predators away and things. And when I became a young adult, I was just really enjoyed the shooting, and I started going to the range quite often. I took a lieutenant colonel from the Air Force that was a chaplain to the range one day. And he said, have you ever competed in any kind of competition? And I said, no, I never did. I'm not good enough. He said, if you don't start competing, you will never be good enough. And that was profound. And it started me into competition. And then we branched out and started training kids to shoot with a kids league. All three of my children were distinguished experts by the time they were 8 years old. And I started training people in defensive classes and things after that. So I was training, I was training myself, and people said, really, you go to training classes? I said, anytime I think that I'm arrogant enough not to learn something from someone, then that's the time that I really need that training, is because I will find something new that I don't, and I can always learn something new. And someone asked me in one of my self-defense classes, how do you know you would ever react if you were in a bad situation? And what I told them is I can't promise you or guarantee you that I will, but why do people in karate or taekwondo or martial arts, why, when they move from belt to belt, do they practice those moves on a table or on a floor, showing people that they can do the moves on the floor? They practice them, and they're not fighting someone, because they're training their brain to do something, not to think about it, but because if I throw a punch at you, and you have to think and react,
you're gonna get hit.
And the punch lands before. And I said, so I'm training like that. And
Muscle memory.
I cannot guarantee that I will react right, but my training tells me that I'm much more likely to. And that's why I don't believe that you should have to be trained to carry a gun. But I truly believe that if you want to be a responsible gun owner, and that you actually think you're the type of person that would engage a shooter, you probably should go trained.
No one knows what they would do if they were put in that situation. No matter what you think you would do, you just don't know. So train, and maybe you're the one that will engage a shooter.
Yep.
My mom engaged a home invader with a Saturday Night Special.
Yep.
So I don't know if you saw that video, but she shot the guy. He ran. She chased him and shot him again.
Good. Very cool.
Yeah,
So
I did a video with her, and she talked about it. And she had to do what she had to do. She was protecting her young kids, and you're protecting your flock as well. You were protecting your community.
I met a young lady named Val Evans, and they're in.
Oh yeah.
Do you know Val?
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know her personally, but I know her story.
So she was home. Val is all of 5'2", and she was home with her 2-year-old daughter. Her husband was a police
Colorado,
officer.
right?
No, Virginia.
Oh, that was Colorado.
She lives in Virginia. She's from Virginia. She's all of 5'2" tall, and she was home. Her husband was a police officer, and he worked the night shift. And somebody started trying to bang in her door, and she ran and grabbed her father-in-law's old service pistol.
Oh, yeah, okay. I got two people mixed up.
Huh?
I got two people mixed up, but now I know what you're talking about.
So her father used to be a police officer also. And she grabbed it and stepped out in the hallway, and she heard crashing glass. He busted through her window and came in, and she yelled, "I have a gun, leave us alone." He charged her down the hallway, and she shot him twice and then held him for the police to show up. And I asked Val, I said, just curiosity, and honestly, you don't have to answer me if you don't want to, but you shot him twice. I said, where did you hit him, if you don't mind me asking? And she said, that was the funniest thing. She said, because at the range, I always pulled down and to the left. And she said that day was no different. She said, I shot him through his right hand into his abdomen on the right side. It was the first shot. And then she said, I hit him in the right groin. And I said, so now he has a new gang name, huh? Lefty One Nut?
Well, we don't have to worry about him like reproducing.
Well, he didn't get any time when because they, and I talked to her long about that. When he went to court, they didn't give him any time because they couldn't prove intent, what his intent was to break into her house.
Where was this?
Is in
Hampton
Virginia.
Roads. Hampton Roads.
Virginia.
Yeah, I thought it was Colorado. I got two things mixed up on another story. It was in Hampton Roads, Virginia, which is in it was near Virginia Beach area.
I don't know if I'm just damn psychic, but I know his intentions.
Well, whatever his intentions weren't good. He tried to bang in a door, and when he couldn't get the door, he busted through the glass. I don't care what his intention was at that point. He broke into her home, and it was her and a 2-year-old daughter in the house without anything but her gun to take care of her. And she is the sweetest, most soft-spoken person you will ever hear from. And
so there's no B&E charge. It's just like, we don't know what he was doing. You have a nice day.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? There's some liberal dumbass prosecutors in Virginia, I'll tell you that.
I'd say what I'm thinking, but I don't think YouTube would appreciate it.
No, it's just it's ridiculous.
But I don't think he'll ever do that again.
I'm pretty sure.
She said that he walks
with that address.
She said that he walks with a limp because the round is stuck in his spine. The one that went into his abdomen stuck in his spine.
Oh, wow.
And so he's walking with a limp today.
It's a reminder what not to do.
What do they say? Mess around and find out?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was going to say he effed around, and I think he found out.
Yeah. So he may have gotten taught a valuable lesson, and he got out with his life, and so he ought to be happy about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
Steven, are you going to SHOT Show?
Well, I went to SHOT Show this last time.
I didn't go. I didn't want to go.
I came back with the SHOT Show bug, and for a week after that,
The SHOT Show bong?
The bug. It was. I came back with and they tested me. It wasn't COVID. It was the flu. It was just a straight up flu. And for
Yeah.
a little over a week, I was, and everybody talks about the SHOT Show bug, and it's
I got a different kind of SHOT Show bug. It was from a cheap hotel called Bed Bugs.
oh, oh man, yeah, no, I didn't get that. It wasn't that cheap of a hotel.
Yeah. You obviously didn't stay where I stayed.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go to SHOT Show this year. Maybe. I don't know. Probably not.
You do that every year. I'm done. I'm sick of it.
SHOT Show is crazy, and I
Hey.
probably put 10 miles on my feet a day. You know.
Oh yeah.
2
Oh,
years
yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
I was going to go, but I got COVID the day of SHOT Show. The day I was leaving.
No, you got COVID as the Uber was pulling up at your door.
Yeah, I was like, I don't feel really well. Maybe I should take a COVID test. The COVID test was positive. I'm like, cancel.
SHOT Show was ridiculous. It was crazy. Never seen anything quite like it before.
Yeah, you've been to a lot of events now.
What's that?
You've been to a lot of events. It seems like every single time in all our meetings at work, at GOA, you're like, yeah, I got this event coming up. Then I'm going to be here. I'm going to be in Pennsylvania. I'm going to be in Texas. I'm going to be in South Carolina.
Yeah. Well, I that's what I do. I speak for GOA. I do speaking events. I've been invited to the Safari Club convention this year, and it's going to be held in Houston. And it's National Safari Club, and they asked me to speak there, and what an honor that is. Going to get to speak with a lot of contributors for Safari Club and stuff, and I got GOA a booth there. So,
Yeah. What made you choose GOA over the other gun groups?
well, and that's real honest, and I kind of use it as an analogy when I talk to people, because you know, we talk about the NRA. Well, the NRA is a 2,500 pound ox pulling a cart, and GOA is a 1,500 pound ox pulling a cart, and GOA is pulling all of the weight on the cart, and that's it. We're pulling all the weight. And we're okay with the NRA being out there, and we're okay with them just walking along beside us, because the taskmaster, the politicians, and the media are cracking that whip on that 2,500 pound ox, and they're focused on the 2,500 pound ox. The whole time we're doing all the work.
Yeah, Aiden's doing it. We have the director of federal affairs, Aiden Johnston, and he is a bulldog in Congress. I talked to several different congressional members, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you were GOA?" I was like, "Yeah," because they know me from Array for Amaland. But when they find out that I work for GOA too, they're like, "You must know Aiden." And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "He's ruthless."
Well, and see, that's the thing to me, is because with my story, I could work with just about any one of them. Mm-hmm. But I choose to work for GOA because I don't believe in compromising. And that's it. We need to get back to not compromise, because what they're calling compromising isn't compromising anymore. It just
capitulation.
Like huh?
It's capitulation.
Well, yeah, it's like, we're going to take this, this, and this, or we'll compromise with you and just take this.
Until next week, when they take a little bit more, and then the week after that.
And we didn't get anything back for it either. Our backs are against the wall. It's time to stop compromising, negotiating, and things like that. It's time to start taking things back. And that's what GOA is doing right now, is we're protecting the rights we still have and regaining rights that we have lost. And people need to understand that. And they say, well, y'all just don't compromise on anything. No, we don't. We've done, this nation has compromised way too much.
Amen.
and we don't compromise. And that's why, especially at this moment in time when GOA is doing so much good, taking things back, is why I am with GOA.
Yep.
Because I want to be part of it. Sometime we're going to look back in history and our grandchildren are going to say, my grandfather stood with GOA on this and we got that back.
Yeah, I just want to answer a question. Somebody was asking about the injunction. Who does the injunction cover? And that is the Pistol Brace injunction, and it covers all GOA members. Also, DLD After Dark wants to invite you on his show. He has a really good show. He's a good friend of mine.
Well, get us connected. I'll do that. I'd love to.
I will connect you right after we get off here. I'll send the email with both of you, and you guys can work it out because he has a good show. I like his show a lot. Rich co-hosts it sometimes because Rich co-hosts every show on YouTube.
I've been on a lot.
I'm a known repeater of co-hosting.
I've been on a lot of shows. I was on a liberal show one time, and the first thing he opened up with is vigilante. StephenWilleford was a vigilante. I was like, whoa.
He called you a vigilante?
Whoa.
No, he doesn't understand the definition.
Well, and then later, it's like, it's not a fight I wanted. It's not a fight that I picked. And then later on the show, he said, I don't want some Larry Moe and Curly like yourself coming to save me if I'm in a church. And I said, really? Larry Moe and Curly. I said, I hit the guy 6 out of 6 rounds. I didn't hit anybody else. I stopped him from murdering people. And I'm Larry Moe and Curly. You think that the police department could have done a better job than I did? I don't think so. They have a national average of 17% hit rate.
Well, ask the police what they thought of you that day.
Exactly. The police were glad they didn't have to roll up into it actively happening.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying by any means. I want to make this perfectly clear now. I am not trying to say anything bad about law enforcement. As
Sure.
Opposite. I am so glad that we have men and women in blue that are willing to put their lives on the line for you, and they don't even know your name.
Yeah. Stephen, do you think that guy, the liberal interview, was just trying to get you, ruffle your feathers, and get you to because you're a real mild mannered guy. I'm thinking the guy was just trying to antagonize you and get an outburst out of you.
Well, I'm sure he was, but my problem is to say that I'm Larry Moe and Curly, and he would rather have been in that church and take his chances with the shooter than have someone that's not law enforcement like me come and stop it.
I call BS. I told there are no atheists in foxholes. I call BS on this.
Yeah, exactly.
No, he would be begging you to take a shot.
And Joe Biden himself, after it was over, they interviewed him when he was still vice president, and Joe Biden said, well, he shouldn't have even had that gun. I guess he wasn't vice president. Trump was, but he said that I shouldn't have even had the gun that I used. And I tried to get in on a Biden rally one time. Silly me. I tried to get in on a Biden rally because I wanted to ask Joe Biden if his wife and Hunter would have been sitting in the pews if he would have cared what kind of gun I used to stop the shooting.
Well, Hunter would have been armed. So,
and I had to sign up as to get to go to the rally, and I didn't think that they would even know who I was. And because you had to sign up online to get tickets to go in, and you're
on the naughty list.
Well, I was waiting on my tickets, and I got a call and said, Mr. Willeford, are you coming to this rally? And I'm thinking, do they call everybody? I said, sure, I'm coming to the rally, but I haven't got a ticket yet. And they said, oh, Mr. Willeford, when you get to the rally, we want you to come here and we'll meet you at the side door and escort you into the rally. I'm like, they know who I am. It's like, they're not going to let me get close enough to Joe Biden to ask him a question.
Right.
And so I didn't go to the rally, because I wasn't going to get my moment to ask him.
They would put you on stage behind him and try to make something that you support him or something like that. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. You can follow Flying Rich at Flying Rich, Firearm Flying Rich on every social media. Stephen, everyone needs to pick up your book. I've been pumping it through there. If you go to company.com/book, it will redirect you to the book, or you can just click on the link that I'm sharing out there right now. Everyone needs to buy your book.
I also have a web page.
Yeah.
It's thebarefootdefender.com. And if you can go to thebarefootdefender.com, you can find the book there and sign on and get the book there. But you can go to amazon.com and find it at Amazon.
Yeah, that's what the link that I made, it redirects to Amazon just to make it easier in case people, so people can just, instead of going to the big Amazon link, they click on that little thing. It would put them right there on Amazon.
I sure do appreciate it.
But yeah, I have the book. I am going to read it. Rich is going to get the book.
And please, after you read the book, please go to Amazon and give a review too.
Yeah, I plan on giving a review there and also on Goodreads, which is another.
Hopefully, it'll be a good review.
It's going to be a good review. Come on, man.
Come on, man.
I run into you enough places. I don't want
to. Right. Don't want to make him mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can make it. Stephen is like so mild mannered in a good way. Even killed, as the kids like to say, or maybe the kids don't really say that.
Thank you so much.
But thank you so much for coming on. You're welcome anytime you want to come on. I'm going to hook you up with the Dark from DLD After Dark, and he can get you on his show. He does a really good show. Good friends. He's a real life friend of mine. I went to elementary school with his brother, so I've known him for a long time. All right, guys. All right, thank you so much.
You,
we will be back on tomorrow. I was about to say next week, but I forgot it's not Thursday.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm confused.
Too long of a weekend, puppy?
Yeah. I don't think we're not going to do shows next week. Screw it.
Okay.
I'll be in my Delaware house. So I'll be just sitting there looking at the ocean. All right. And see you, Tony Simon. All right.